When we get upstairs, it gets a little bit more exciting, I guess, the higher we go. It's called attic. So the creatives are all up in the attic. Here we had about 4 or 5 account people. And what those people would do is basically make sure the relationships with the clients were cool. They'd be the ones doing the presentations to the client. And they'd also be doing any kind of paperwork related to the client, like billing them and stuff like that. Any kind of documents the client would need made, like if one client wanted to have this huge manual made, so these people would write the manual and like make sure everything lined up. They have some design skills, but they wouldn't commission artwork. They're project managers, account managers. So one of them was sort of like the hero who would go in with one of the partners into the presentations the most, really looking out for the client's interests and wanting to make sure they're happy as well. So that was good. Good person. They had a neat little bathroom over here with a shiny silver glitter toilet. There's an office here with this guy who would do the sales, and so he'd be on the phone at his desk here all the time, just chatting to different clients, and he'd have stacks of books, promo materials and stuff, and he'd have a library as well of some kind of strategy books, because he'd be talking about strategy the whole time. If there's ever strategy documents written for the clients, he's usually the guy writing them. I remember one time there was a big athletic famous sports company, and this guy, the client just didn't like this guy, so we didn't get business because the client just didn't get along with that guy. So I think eventually the company got business from them, but that's just some weird. Sometimes it's not about the work, it's just the personalities. And so this guy, I remember he had a chart which was, let me draw it more over here. It was kind of, so it was basically set up like this, and he'd have a whole bunch of clients listed, and actually, well, that won't be, so these are the client names. Then he'd have the sort of sales process and how he was doing in the sales process. So here might be meeting, or like I'll add another one. We'll see. We sent them a quote, maybe is that one. Here we had a meeting. Here we had like an initial contact. So I'll just say a letter, but it could have been a phone call or an email. This could have been we dropped off a book or a promo of some kind. And then he would just, I forget what this was. Maybe this is a smaller promo, this is a bigger promo. The bigger book, they had this huge big book. So he might be trying to check off boxes along the way to keep track of where he is and what he's got to do with all these clients. And this list went down a lot. There's a lot more clients down here. So eventually he'd close some deals, and his goal is to close the deals, and he's just working on connecting with them and making sure they know what the studio does, keeping in touch. So let's get back to the office here. So this is the top floor where the creatives were actually in the attic. And this is where I worked. So we had sort of round table with a bunch of, at the time, the big monitors didn't have flat screens at the time invented. So we had a bunch of those with different guys. So all these different designers are all very talented people. And they're kind of, it sort of seemed like being in a band, like a rock band or something, because they're all quite the personalities and very creative and stylish guys. And we would just create the stuff, and the account people would check it out before presenting it to the client. We would never really present to the clients at this office. So these guys would be the guys who sometimes would commission artwork, and some studios, this is a fairly medium-large design studio. Some design studios are only these people, and they manage everything and commission stuff. So typically if you see that they're doing magazines, then that means they're commissioning illustrations, maybe even on a daily basis, or even a weekly or monthly basis. Bigger branding studios tend to create everything themselves, generally speaking. They do commission photography and illustration sometimes. I'll just to give you a bit more info here. Like we had the scanners over there, they had swatch books, we had a little water thing, a little TV over here. In the foreground we'd have the boss had his own desk here with the laptop, so he'd kind of run in and run out. He wouldn't be around that often. He wasn't doing that much work himself creatively. He's just making sure all of this is running properly, making sure the clients are happy and are getting good creative work. And he'd give us guidance on what we're doing sometimes and inspire everybody. He was an inspiring guy for sure. So yeah, that's basically how Design Studio works. They reach out to inspirational different clients that they feel would resonate with their work. They try to raise awareness, that client know who they are and know about their work in more detail, have conversations with that client about how they can help. And some of the projects they bill for would be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So these people would all be making sure that everything is going smoothly and that the work is great and stuff. So yeah, illustration sometimes helps make the work really good, and these guys would be paying pretty big overheads for all the staff and this beautiful old building, which there's a big stained glass window up here and more detailed staircase and stuff. And yeah, so you've got salaries of all these people, and the principal here, it's like, oh, he makes so much money. But I remember asking somebody one time something about compensation for the principal, and I forget what it was now, but they said, yeah, you got to remember the principal worked to build this thing for 10 years and he got no salary. He took a lot of personal risks to build this company. Eventually he started to do pretty well financially, or very well financially, but if you're getting paid a lot less, it's because you haven't taken those risks and made those investments over 10, 20 years. So it's actually, he's getting fairly rewarded for those risks that he's taken. If you're an illustrator wondering how you can help designers, they're very busy and stressed out and distracted with a lot of things. And, if you follow their studio and look at the kind of work that inspires them individually, you'll have a sense of whether or not your work fits into that. Because you want to send work to people that generally will resonate with the kind of work that you're doing. And yeah, by understanding a little bit about how their business runs and how they can succeed, you can serve them better and make better work for them and hopefully get more business, do some awesome collaborations. So hope that helps.